My name is Professor Brinson, and I'll give you a little information about my background. I taught school in the Chicago public school system for over 17 years, elementary school, high school, and also taught at the college level at Northeastern Illinois University. And I'm currently retired. I'm working part-time for the e.t.c Institute, which is located in Chicago. Now, there are two types of categories of experiences that people have, and I've had both. One category, which normal people have, is a result of tremendous trauma exacted upon the physical body. Heart attacks, strokes, gunshot wounds, carmobile crashes, airplane crashes, etc. And they die with pain. The trauma, if exacted too much on the physical body, will force them out of the body, and most of them don't come back. But those who come back, a few have memory of their experiences of going out of the body. Now, when I had my first experience of going out of the body, it was not painful. I had met a teacher. This teacher was in India because I was very curious. I traveled around the world several times because I'm extremely curious, looking for knowledge. And I, by coincidence, met a teacher who befriended me and taught me the methodology of how to get out of the body consciously through meditation. And when I had the first experience, it scared the hell out of me, to be, pardon my French, because when you're about to die, in spite of what a person says, the feeling comes that you're being extinguished. You don't know if you're going to be totally destroyed and forever. But when I got out, it was pleasant. I went just a little bit inside the body, out of the body, watching it. I didn't go that far, but it was a wonderful experience, and I overcame the fear. So after practicing for several years, several decades, I met my teacher again, and I said, well, it's very difficult. He said, yes, but if you love your teacher and if your teacher is advanced enough, it'll be as easy as snapping your finger. So when I struggled with the difficulty, this was after being with him for a decade and a half. He had come to this country. He was working in the business I was involved in. And as we were walking in Pennsylvania at the spiritual fellowship conference, I said to him, look, it's extremely difficult. I can't get in touch with that strange music inside the body, which pulled me out consciously. He said, well, I tell you what, I'll make a recommendation to my teacher. Because on the spiritual path, you have to have a teacher advanced enough who can teach you from experience. And he said his teacher was extremely advanced. And I said, would you make a recommendation? He said, of course. So he said, go ahead and practice tonight. So when I went back to my room, I sat in meditation. I said, I'm not going to do anything. I just want to see if it'll work. And then I heard this strange noise. Then it became louder and more melodious, and eventually pulled me out of the body, and I flew up into the lower part of the astral plane. And it was a wonderful experience. And then I came back. And I wanted to stay there. He said, no, you can't stay. You have to live out your life and pay off your karma. So in 2018, which is almost a little close to 48 years later, I had an experience while with my wife going to the Rush Hospital because she insisted that I should get a colonoscopy. And I told her, and we got into a small argument. I said, well, I don't need a colonoscopy because I've been eating plant-based food for over 40 some years. And my arteries and veins don't have any cholesterol. They are as pure as the snow. So she says, shut your so-and-so up. You're going to get this colonoscopy done. So I had a cane, and I was supposed to get another operation, which I haven't done yet, on one of my hips. So she was kind and put me in a wheelchair as she wheeled me up to the 4th floor to meet the colonoscopist. And we got into another argument. I said, well, you know, you're supposed to take me to the bank. I know I got to get some money. And so she said, I told you to shut up. So you know how wives can be with you, if you experience that. So I just put my head into the wheelchair, put my head down, and noiselessly and painlessly died. And she kept talking to me as though I was living. And as she noticed I didn't respond, she shook my body, and then she got into a panic. Now I'm out of the body watching this whole process. I'm smiling. And as she called the nurses, and for a strange reason and a strange coincidence, the universe had arranged for a cardiologist to be on that floor. He was not supposed to be on that floor. That was the floor for doing colonoscopy work. So he came and rushed. They gave me the defibrillator. They cut off my expensive jacket, and I saw them doing that. So I tried to grab the hand of the person who was cutting it off. And like in the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, my hands went through their body. They didn't even know it. So I couldn't do anything. And my teacher was there with me at that time, watching me. And he said, let's leave this world. So I said, I want to see the sun. I never seen the sun. He said, well, you don't have to see it, but I'll take you there. So in less than a fraction of a second, we flew to the sun. And I saw all of the explosion, nuclear explosion taking place, but I didn't feel anything. I just saw it. And I said, wow, this is great. He said, let's leave this boring experience. Let's go higher up. So I went into the astral plane. That's the first world. In the middle part, where communication is done through telepathy. Everybody in the higher part of the astral plane got great knowledge and great wisdom, and they have more love than the people in the physical world. As we go into that world and I start witnessing that place, I said, can I go see the president of that world? He said, of course, but you don't need to see him. I said, what does the president do? He said he controls the destiny and economy of everybody in the physical world and below. I said, wow. But it's a temporary position, just like in the physical world. That position changes after so many years. Another person come and occupy that position based on their good karma. So as we cross that world and go into the causal plane, and that causal plane is very difficult to describe. I'm going to try to come up with the words, but I'm having difficulty now. I'm almost choking trying to come up with the words to give you an experience of that word. That world compared with the astral world. In the astral world compared with the physical world. If you were to take the trillions and trillions of galaxies and stars out in space, that would be the physical world. But that world compared with the astral world would be like a quarter in the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean would represent the totality of the astral world, which is much larger than the physical plane that we live on. So as I cross that world, we go into the causal world. And the causal world is much larger than the astral world. The astral world will be like a quarter compared with the causal plane. So as I get into the causal plane, you feel like you won with everybody. Even in this world, if you play basketballs and sports and get closer to friends, including gang members, you start feeling one with them. Even though you're not one, you have the feeling. But when you're in the causal world, you actually feel. You actually can become one with everything that exists in creation. It's such a fantastic experience, I can't put it in words. Beings there, my teacher said they start feeling that they God. I said, why do they feel like they God? Because they get so much power. It's a temporary position. The average lifespan of the beings in the astral world is about 3,500 years of age. And your identity is associated with your age. Just like when you wake up from a dream, you feel you are 35, 40, or 50 years of age, even though the dream only lasted a few hours. But when you die from the physical world, or wake up from the physical world, if we want to use that word, you have a feeling when you go to the astral that you're 3,500 years of age or more. But in the causal world, you feel like you're millions of years of age. And you have so much power and miraculous ability that you start feeling you God. He said to me quietly that that is a counterfeit experience of God. God is much higher. He's rare. People don't get that close to God. You have to have a person who has gone there to take you there. And so I wanted to go higher. So we left that world. Now I'm speechless. I can't say anything. If somebody said describe that world, I said, nete, not this, not that. But that world, you get to realize who you are. That's the third spiritual region where self-realization takes place, or what people call salvation. And you have tremendous, I can't describe the love that you get from loving yourself. So I'll stop there and then come back, because he said, you have to come back and take care of your destiny and fulfill your responsibility in the physical world. And it's still your time to die. Then you go way beyond that. There are 2 more stages above that. I said, okay. I didn't want to come back, but he insisted. So he put me back in the body. And so I'm here now meeting with you and talking to you and to your audience about this wonderful spiritual experience, which is very rare. Most people who die clinically, you have over 20 million people in America, if you do the Google research, that have clinically died and have come back with memory. But they think the astral plane is the highest. It's not. It's the elementary stage of the spiritual world. The causal experience is the high school experience of the spiritual world. The experience above the causal, which is self-realization, is the postgraduate experience, or you can say college experience in the spiritual world. But there are experiences beyond the college. You got postgraduate levels and the ultimate level, which is one with the Creator. When you go to sleep at night, you find yourself getting hazier and fainter, and you lose awareness of the physical world. And you go into the dream world. You immediately, 3 things take place. You create a body, which you give to yourself. You normally don't look at it, but you're conscious. And you also create other people there. You see, to give you an example, say if you're walking down the streets in a city, you see people driving in old cars, new cars. You see a lady in a baby buggy walking their little child. Then you see some people doing construction work, old man on a ladder. Then you see a young man giving him bricks. You look at the sky. If you pay attention, you can see the sun, you can see the stars. You create what looks like this world in that dream. But when you wake up, you discover nothing was there. You discover when you wake up, your memory comes back that I'm 35, 40, 50 years of age. And that's what gives you the feeling of reality that nobody can shake. That is the evidence. The identity of waking up, or the identity of coming to a higher level of consciousness, okay? So when we meditate, or if we have the clinical death experience, if we go far enough into the astral world, memory comes back of being 3,500 years or even 4,000 years of age. And nobody can dispute that. You don't need any proof, but that is the proof built inside of consciousness. Most people die in the first category, category A. Heart attacks, gunshot wounds, strokes, automobile accident, car accident, airplane crashes. They die, or they die in natural ways during their sleep. And normally this way of dying, category A, requires pain. Somebody have to shoot you, you have a stroke, a heart attack, a car crash, and you die that way. And most of them don't come back, right? That's the first category, A. Category B, you consciously can get out of the body at will, but that requires a great deal of effort and meditation with the help of a master. Now, a guru who is extremely advanced, he says, my teacher gave me an example. He said, if you were to try to get 200 PhDs in this world, which you don't live long enough to get 200 PhDs through going through different universities, studying physics, English, astronomy, it'll take too many lifetimes. It's extremely difficult to be able to do. But with the love and grace of the guru, he can just take you in at will. But you have to fall in love. And the guru is favored by the Creator. He has had a guru who has taught him this, and he fell in love with his guru, and therefore he got all of this. So you got to be fortunate enough by strange and intensified seeking to get lucky enough and win a spiritual lottery to meet a living, advanced spiritual beings. This world always got living spiritual beings. They're not many, but they can teach you. But you have to go through several struggles and lessons. And once you mastered all of these lessons, then you get lucky enough. It's like going to the store or buying a lottery ticket. And when there's $1 billion being possibly won, many people go, right? But one person can bet $1 thinking he's not going to win or she's not going to win, and they can win. That's the spiritual lottery you have to win. But you have won it because you have, in your previous existences, looked for the Creator with tremendous, almost fanatical, a monomaniacal type of seeking, a one-pointedness in seeking. And then you get lucky in one lifetime, and then you can get out of this creation. The only way you can overcome this experience is learn how to reverse the flow of your attention and take it inside. Don't go outside. The only time you go inside this body is when you go to sleep. You're inside the body now, but you're on the wakeful state, or the wakeful floor. That's the sixth floor in the body, in which I'm speaking to you, in which you're listening to me. But when you go to sleep, your attention falls, you get drowsier, you become almost amnesic, where you forget the fact that you're snoring in the bed, and you go into the throat area, which is the fifth floor in the body. They call these chakras. You can go lower. Sometimes people get into a coma, and they breathing, they living, and the doctors can't wake them up. They know they're living, but they in lower parts. The lower you go, the more difficult it is to get out of these different chakras unless you practice. But the spiritual teacher say, you're already at the sixth floor. Why you want to go down? You automatically program your mind to go down and go to sleep. But you never practice taking yourself up. And you have to learn how to die while living if you want to have experiences before you die. And there's a way to do this, but that's hard for people to accept. And I said to him, I said, what are you talking about? Die while living. He said to me, if you don't believe this, when you take a different perspective, imagine if what I'm saying is true. When you find that, could you think of anything better than that? I said, no. The capacity to die while living and go and to the Creator and then come back and go to work tomorrow. I can't think of anything better than that if you can do it painlessly. He said, nah, I made my point.